All right, everybody, welcome back to the newest edition of the Horsemen Pro Football Talk podcast. I am Brad.
It's your boy, Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're glad you're here. So the first thing I got to say is that this is weird. I've got football games all over my schedule. I have the Bucks, the Colts, and the Dolphins on my phone. And I'm watching all of these preseason games go by, and it's surreal. It's killing me. I've never been through this period of my life where there hasn't been football
on. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully we can I can bide my time and get through these next couple of weeks. And so we're looking at the 10th, right? Thursday, September 10th, the opening game.
Yep. Texans versus Chiefs to lead off the year. We'll see if the Texans can rebound from the colossal collapse they had.
The colossal collapse that we like to remind them of constantly.
That game may get very ugly. Just saying.
Yeah, it'd be interesting for sure. I'm looking forward to it. Okay, a little somber news. I mean, for as much as we poked fun at Washington. Ron Rivera announced that he has squamous cell cancer in his lymph nodes, and they said they want to go business as usual. I don't see that happening. This is pretty serious. I mean, it's not. I don't want to give the guy a death sentence. I'm not his doctor. I don't know what's going on, but it is something that needs to be taken very seriously. I'm sure they're taking all the precautions. I just don't see it going along as business as usual. This may really derail their season before it gets started.
Yeah, absolutely. Because especially, obviously in the time we're in where COVID mostly affects the people that are immunocompromised, right? So even though he came out and said that it's in the early stages, so it's very treatable and he should be just fine. There's like you said, there's gonna have to be extra precautions when he's around because he's more susceptible than ever to catch COVID, which has its own effects to pile on to what he's already dealing with. Obviously, Pagano, as Colts fans, we relate to the Pagano situation. He came to coach the Colts, and he got cancer, and he had to go away from the game. Luckily, we had Bruce Arians to back him up. But there's nobody on that staff. Maybe Jack Del Rio would take over if Ron has to miss time, and that might be able to work out. But his track record as a head coach wasn't that great. So, like you said, before this season ever even gets started, they're already looking like they're not going to be doing too well this year.
Yeah, and it's at the critical stage, right? I mean, you could take the guy. First of all, if he misses games like you talked about, and Del Rio has to step up. I mean, he hasn't even established the program. He hasn't established the culture. He's just getting started. I mean, there's so many foundational bricks being laid right now. Then he's going to leave. Del Rio, for everything he is or isn't, what doesn't matter, is a different coach, right? So Arians kind of stepped in. Pagano he had the culture, he had everything moving. Arians kind of stepped in, did things the way Pagano wanted. No doubt did his own thing to a certain extent, but it was still Pagano's program. This hasn't been established yet. If you take the guy and he doesn't have to step away as much, but you isolate him, maybe put him in a booth, he doesn't have contact with his players. And for the leader, for the general not to have contact with his men is bad for morale. This right now is just not good timing. But in the end, his health is more important than the game, and
absolutely,
we wish him the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, in a little more lighthearted news, Bruce Arians has said that Gronk showed up not in Florida football shape.
I saw that. Said the heat's killing them down here.
And I live down here. I believe it. It's exercising out here in the heat is a completely different story than doing it anywhere else.
Yeah, but it may make them that much better too.
Yeah, we'll see. it's good with the preseason. He's got a little extra time to kind of get it together before he's seen. Not that really matters anyway. I mean, Gronk's Gronk, and we know what to expect with him. But I just thought it was kind of funny. I can envision him dying. They were playful about it, so not a big deal, but funny stuff for sure. And I heard this morning in the other Florida football team, there's 3, but we only claim 2, that Fitzpatrick is not practicing with the team today. And they didn't really say for how long. They really didn't say why. They're talking about signing the 3rd quarterback. Did you guys hear this?
I did not know. That's interesting.
Yeah, I heard something about it. I believe they're holding one of the other quarterbacks out too, and obviously nothing definitive yet. But I heard that it's probably being put on the COVID-19 list. So we'll have to watch out for that news.
Yeah, for sure. They listed as personal reasons, but that could be anything. So,
well, if it's COVID, they have to put them on the COVID list, right? You can't not put them on the list. I think that goes against the.
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't know what the parameters are. If someone in Fitzpatrick's family has COVID, or they have suspicions they have COVID, but no one's diagnosed, and he really doesn't have it. This is just happening today. It's probably going to, the fallout is happening today, and maybe we'll have an answer to that, this weekend or next week sometime.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I mean, if it's something else and he doesn't come back, are they going to start Tua to start the season, or do you go with Rosen?
You can argue both sides of that and have historical support for each argument, whether you start the rookie or you go with the guy who hasn't really shown anything. I don't know. I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah, I heard that neither Joe Burrow or Tua is wowing anybody at practice thus far. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out.
I hadn't heard that, but that's interesting as well. Already we're off to a 2020 style season, aren't we?
Yeah, it's going to be a wild one.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, Jeff, you had some injuries you wanted to talk about, right?
Yeah. As we look forward into the season, we've already talked about how we think all the different teams are going to do and everything. So as we talk about our playoff teams and how I think that's going to shake out, there have been some key injuries. One most notably lately was the Gerald McCoy injury. Kind of a big deal, kind of almost not, because they signed Everson Griffin, and I think if they would have released Gerald McCoy anyways and brought in Everson Griffin, that's an upgrade anyways. But Gerald McCoy blew his quad, and in the contract, the Cowboys were able to release him and not give him any of his guaranteed money because there was a quad clause. That's what it was called in the contract. It was a quad clause. If something happened where he was going to miss a season because something happened to his quad, they can release him, which is what they did. They waived him. And again, I don't know if that impacts them a whole lot. They're pretty deep on the defensive line, but that's one that people have been talking about lately.
Still not going to matter. They're still going to suck.
That's a pretty in-depth analysis and pretty accurate.
I just hate the Cowboys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, they're a shit show for sure. We still haven't won a playoff game since '93 or something.
I don't know. They're all still clamoring to the Aikman, Emmitt Smith days.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to go back again. I forgot. Has anybody heard any more about the Yannick trade? Ngakoue, was he? I heard he might go. That he might go to the Ravens. Has anyone heard any more on that?
No, I saw something about there possibly being a trade. I know he wants out. I don't think he's reported. Maybe. I don't know. I need to check my facts, but yeah, I know he definitely wants out. And if he goes to the Ravens, oh my God.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why anybody would. I guess if you're going to tank and you're going to finish at the bottom of your division again, you don't care if the Ravens just stomp all over everybody. But I would think that the other AFC teams, would at least place a phone call, say, "Dude, what are you doing?" The Jacksonville shit show just keeps getting better and better. They don't even know how. They don't even know how. I don't even think they know they're in a tailspin. I don't even know that they know what's going on down there, up there from where we're at.
Well, they might as well pull Bob from the Texans, add him to the program.
Yeah, well, he might be an upgrade.
Yeah, I know, right?
Anyway, were there any of these other the Chiefs? Tyreek Hill's injured too, right?
Yeah, I saw something about that. They have a couple receivers. Tyreek is dealing with a hamstring strain. He's missed a couple days of practice. Seems more precautionary than serious. And same thing with Sammy Watkins. Even though Sammy Watkins has more of a history with injuries, he's dealing with his own groin issue. He's missed multiple practices. But that's another thing, because he has injury history. They're just gonna let him sit out for a week or so, let him get right, get his body right again, come back next week. So it shouldn't be an issue. He's been in the system for a little while. So I don't think those should be an issue. But they did get Ricky Seals-Jones in the offseason, who is a really athletic kind of tight end. He reminds me a lot of O.J. Howard. He has so much potential and just isn't putting it together for some reason. And he was carted off the field this past Monday with an apparent leg injury. And I thought that maybe he could be a key component to what they want to do. Add an extra tight end in there with Travis Kelce, maybe an extra run blocker to get the run game going. So I think that's gonna affect them, not a whole lot, because they did have them last year and they were fine. But I do think that added component is going to be something that's going to be felt.
Yeah, good point. That with the Tyreek Hill injury, I want to point out that I'm being a little facetious here, but there's really not a such thing as a minor hamstring injury. Hamstring injuries have a tendency to not really go away over the course of the season. I've had hamstring injuries, and the problem with a hamstring injury is that there's like phases, and you think it's better, and then you go back to doing what you're doing, and you have a propensity to injure it right away. And with what these guys go through, it'll be really interesting to see how they handle it. I know that they're professionals; they know what they're doing. My opinion doesn't matter to them, but it'd be interesting to watch, because minor hamstring injuries turn into major hamstring injuries very quickly.
Yeah, and we saw that last year with Ty, right? As Colts fans, we obviously watch those games, and Ty has never really been a guy that got injured, but it was like as soon as he started getting some calf injuries, and it's like the soft issue injuries are just piling up for him as he gets older. A couple of years ago he missed a game or two. Last year he missed 6 or 7 games. And he's already got his own hamstring issues, keeping him out of practices. I think he's back practicing now. But like you said, it's one of those things that seems to linger on for guys. And with Ty getting closer to that 30 mark, I just think it's going to keep lingering on for him. I hope not, because he's our number one receiver. But I think you're right. It's one of those things that just lingers on. And hopefully it's not a big deal for Tyreek, because he's a little younger. But with as much as they send that dude on streaks, you would imagine he's going to re-aggravate that at some point.
Let me pose this question. How much of an impact, if he has a chronic hamstring injury throughout the season, misses, I don't know, however many games you want to say, how much does that impact their season? Because, I mean, they still have Mahomes, and we all know what he can do. They still have Kelce, Watkins, all those guys. They got good running backs now too. So they're still weapons, but he's still one of the top receivers in the league. So I'm just curious to know how many games they may not win because they don't have that additional weapon.
I don't know, because this isn't the age of this is our team and this is what we're doing. kind of philosophy to not to to bring up the losingest coach in Speedway basketball history again, but this guy draws attention, and defenses will mold themselves. So now if you have someone who's almost as good, but he's not going to draw the same kind of attention, you can pull your focus back off elsewhere and try to neutralize some of the other weapons, which is what made them so dangerous. On the other hand, they are stacked, and they have all kinds of weapons. And Mahomes appears to be the kind of guy like Andrew Luck, like Peyton Manning, like Drew Brees, like Tom Brady, that he makes good players great players. He makes great players superstars, and he puts superstars in the Hall of Fame. And so it may not matter. He may just find a way to make it happen. It'll be interesting, and I think that'll be a good test for Mahomes in itself to watch what he does if he doesn't have. I don't want to say it's easy if you have great weapons, because that's certainly. This is the highest level in the world, and these are amazing athletes, and it's not easy. It's got to be incredibly difficult to play against the best people week in and week out. But it'll be a good test to see really where his future caliber lies, if he can adjust, if he doesn't have the weapons that he thought he was going to have. Okay, Zach, you wanted to get into some playoff stuff, huh?
Yeah, let's do it. We went through the whole season on our division breakdown series, and all we have left is playoff predictions.
Okay. All right. This is where we put up or shut up, right? This is where we're either going to be able to do a celebratory "I told you so" dance, or we're going to have to wear a paper bag on our head at the end of the season.
The look of shame.
The look of shame. That's right. All right. So we have some disagreement. We wanted to start with the NFC, and we had some disagreement on the final seeds, right?
Yeah, the seating's a little different, but for the most part, we all have the same kind of teams in. There's a couple differences, but
yeah. Well, I have. I'm going to alienate half of. I've got a lot of Packers fans as friends, and I've got a lot of Vikings fans as friends. I've got the Vikings winning the division, and because of that pushes the Packers. And on my brackets, it pushes Packers to the 7th seed. I may get some death threats from some of the Green Bay people, but I'll just call on the Vikings people to help back me up. So they'll be elated that I really think the Vikings are going to get it together this year. So that's probably the biggest disparity, other than I actually have the Cowboys in the playoffs. So you guys have the Cowboys in the playoffs?
I think Jeff does.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
So disappointed in you guys.
I don't have them in the second round. I can promise you that.
Nope, me either.
So I think the Vikings, the Seahawks, the Cowboys, and the Packers. Do we all have them in the playoffs? Except
Vikings, Seahawks, Packers. I got.
Who's your other NFC team?
I have the Eagles coming out of the East.
Okay, well, there's the difference.
Yeah,
I really think those teams are all afterthoughts in this. I think if we're not focused on the Niners and the Saints, I know upsets can happen, but I really think the Niners and the Saints are the only two teams to really worry about in the NFC.
Yeah, I agree. I got. I'm opposite you. I have Green Bay at 14-2. They're the number 1 seed. I got Minnesota as my 7th seed. So I got those two flip flopped. But pretty much I have it coming down to Green Bay, Tampa Bay, or New Orleans.
Yeah, my bracket sounds a lot like your guys's, except I have the Vikings as the 8th seed. They just missed the playoffs. The Falcons just get in for me. And I believe they're both 9-7, but they won a tiebreaker. So they're my 7th seed. I think the Bucks are.
Excuse me. Did you say the Falcons?
The Falcons.
I'm sorry. I thought you said the Falcons.
Yeah, the Falcons.
Oh.
Down in ATL. Yeah, they'll make it.
And they got some players, so
yeah, they have a lot of talent. What I'm worried with them, the only reason they won't make the playoffs is if the same guys keep getting hurt like they do every year on their defense. But barring major injuries, I have them at 7. I think the Saints are a problem, but I don't have them winning their division. I actually have the Buccaneers winning that division. And you guys, I'm like right in the middle on the Packers. I've always liked the Packers a lot, but I have them winning the division. They're the 3 seed. I don't know. The Niners, I have them at the 2 seed, but they've had some injuries. They had some players leave. They had some players opt out. And I've kind of wanted to change my numbers on them because I don't know if they can even win that division now. But I have them at the 2 seed.
I hope so. I can't stand the Seahawks, man. All right. I don't like Pete Carroll. I think I've said that before. It's not the Seahawks. It's Pete Carroll. I can't. And I don't know. Can the Cardinals win, Jeff? I'm just if the Niners aren't going to win, find me somebody else other than the Seahawks who are going to win the division. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean the Cardinals could sneak in. You know, they have plenty of talent. I don't know if I have as much faith in Kingsbury and Murray as other people. But I mean, you can't question the talent. I mean, Isaiah Simmons, if he is what he's expected to be, that's another game changer on the defense. So that would be a stout defense with him in it. The offense looks like it should be good, but I don't know if I would count on. I don't count on the Cardinals to make any.
I don't either. I don't either. And I'd like to go back and say that Aaron Rodgers is a lot like Tom Brady. So I want to go on record as saying there is no way that I'm saying Aaron Rodgers and the Packers can't get this done. Great teams find a way to get it done in the end, and it certainly wouldn't surprise me if they pull it all together and make a run to the end. And it certainly wouldn't surprise me if the Vikings are able to do that. I like what they're doing in Minnesota. I hope it works out like it looks like it's going to work out. And if that's the case, they could also make a very strong run in the postseason, no matter where they end up.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the NFC's got New Orleans written all over.
I don't know. I mean, you got Tampa Bay too. I mean, we discussed in our division series that Tampa Bay.
I said the Niners earlier, and I meant Tampa Bay. Gosh, we're gonna have to. Jeff, can you go back? We're gonna have to edit and put Niners coming or Tampa Bay coming out of my mouth. Rather, no wonder you guys looked at me so weird. Somebody correct me. Tampa Bay. Yeah. The Saints and Tampa Bay. That's who I have the NFC coming down to, and I actually have the Saints going to the Super Bowl. All right, so I have the Niners and the Packers. The Niners the 2nd seed, and the Packers the 7th seed. And I have the Niners coming out of that. That was done 3 months ago, so I'm not going to bet any money on that. 3 seed being the Vikings, 6 seed being the Seahawks. I'd have to go with the Vikings just because I couldn't pick the Seahawks. And then the 5th seed being the Buccaneers and the 4th seed being the Cowboys. The Buccaneers come out on top. And the Buccaneers were 5th only because of, I had the Saints winning the division. But that's a coin toss. I don't know who's going to win that division. I went with the Saints just because of history, because we had the Buccaneers haven't proven that they're a formidable team yet. We all believe that they're going to be based on what they did last year and what they've done this year, bringing everyone in. But you got to go with the tried and true. And Sean Payton, I'll bet on Sean Payton and Andrew Brees any day. So from there, I have the Niners and the Vikings. The Niners coming out on top, and the Buccaneers and the Saints actually matching up. And I went with the Saints for the reason we just talked about. And then the Saints beating the Niners to move on to the Super Bowl.
What you got, Jeff?
Mine's really not too far off of what you have. I have the Niners as my 2 seed, Falcons as my 7. Niners coming away with that win. Again, I think that's changed with some of the things that have happened over the last couple months. The Falcons might pull that off, but I still have the Niners taking that one. I have the Packers as my 3, the Seahawks as my 6, and I actually have the Seahawks pulling that one out. I think that
Ugh.
yeah, I know it. I know. But the Packers, I think they're just going to get manhandled the way the Niners did last year in the playoffs. I just don't think when it comes playoff time, they're not going to be able to keep up with those playoff teams. Even though they can win that division, I don't think they can beat the other teams in the conference. And then my 4 and 5, I have the Cowboys at 4 just because they won the division, and the Saints at 5. And I have the Saints beating the Cowboys. I don't even expect that to really even be close. And then when you move on to the next round, I have the Niners and the Saints. I don't think that one's really going to be close either. I think the Saints are going to manhandle the Niners in that one. And then I think the Buccaneers are going to do pretty good work on the Seahawks. And then when the Saints and the Buccaneers meet in the conference game, I have, even though I had Tampa Bay winning that division, I have the Saints moving on to the Super Bowl.
Pretty solid. I'm a little bit different on mine. My 2-7 is the Bucks at 2, Vikings at 7. I think that'll be a great game to watch, but ultimately I think Tampa Bay is going to come out with that one. My 3-6 is the third game of the Niners versus Seahawks, and because I have the Niners winning it the week before, I
Don't.
have the Seahawks
Don't.
winning it in the wild card. And then my 4-5 is the Eagles versus the Saints. I think the Saints are just going to be a better team. They're one of the top teams in the league. But because Tampa Bay won the division, that Saints are number 5. But the Saints will come out. So in the divisional round, I have my 1 seed, Green Bay versus Seattle. And that's where Green Bay shuts them up at Lambeau. Seattle's hitting the road. Packers moving on. And then in the other game, number 2, Tampa Bay versus number 5, New Orleans. The third game in the craziest series of games you've ever seen in a season. Tampa Bay takes it. Moves on to play Green Bay in the NFC Championship, where I have Tampa Bay moving on to be the first ever team to go to the Super Bowl at their home stadium.
And I think we all agree that that would be really cool.
It's 2020. Anything can happen.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And, right down the street. And that would be that I would go for that.
Yeah, especially because when Indianapolis, we were still living in Indianapolis. The Colts we had the Super Bowl there, but that was the year that Peyton had the surgery, and we only won like 2 games, so
Yeah.
we didn't even have a chance that year.
All right, AFC 7th seed is the Steelers. So I have the Steelers playing the Chiefs, the number 2 seed. Chiefs are number 2 seed only because of the Ravens. I'm tipping my hand early. I've got a feeling. I'm not a big Ravens fan. I remember when the Colts came to Indianapolis, and then I met Baltimore people, and they were rude about we stole their team, and they cried and cried until they stole another team, and then appropriated it for themselves or whatever they did. But I got a feeling that the Ravens may be the dominant team overall. I mean, they may be the force to reckon with. So Chiefs number 2 seed and the Steelers. I've got the Chiefs obviously coming out of that. I can't bet against the Chiefs right now. I just can't. 6th seed being the Patriots.
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, and then I've got them match up with the 3 seed, the Colts. And have the Colts coming out of it.
You redeemed yourself on that one.
But that's because I'm not really sure how the AFC East is going to go. We talked about that before. I've got the Dolphins winning the division, right? I've got the Bills and the Patriots. I don't know what either team's going to do. The Patriots could tank. The Bills could be formidable. They could not be formidable. I don't know what's going to happen. So I would say insert the Bills. It could be just as easily the Dolphins or the Bills, could flip-flop, which leads me to my 4 and 5 seed. It's the Dolphins being the 4 seed, taking on the Titans. It could be any one of those other AFC East teams, and the Titans getting the 5th seed. And you'll notice I have the Texans missing the playoffs.
That's right. I'm right there with you.
Yeah. So I don't want to spend too much time on them because they're not going to make the playoffs. There's no reason to talk about them. So that in my bracket, that puts the Dolphins playing the Ravens. That's an ass stomping in the making right there. That's
I mean, but
game.
the Dolphins are that team that sucks. Generally, I think they're going to be a lot better this year, but they're always that team that sucks, and you're anticipating them just to get demolished, but somehow they pull it out.
Yeah, and if Flores does what we think Flores is doing, and they do make the playoffs, they are certainly the team that could upend someone's dreams very quickly.
Yeah, they're definitely that Cinderella team.
Yeah, I still think it's an ass stomp.
Yeah, I agree. I was just trying to play devil's advocate for a second.
So then I've got the Chiefs and the Colts. Look, I think the Colts are the real deal, and we've talked about that. I just can't. I don't know. The only thing I don't see them coming through KC this year. They can, but I don't think if I have to pick one, I'm going to go with Kansas City, which gives me the ultimate. See, I didn't get this in the NFC bracket with having the Bucks and the Saints in the NFC Championship, which is the way it should be because of the way I had the seedings fall. If these seeds fall the way I think they're going to, we have a hell of an AFC Championship with the Ravens and the Chiefs. I have the Ravens moving on from there and playing the Saints in the Super Bowl.
That'll be a great game to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. And like you, I think the Chiefs and the Ravens are just a toss-up. I have them finishing with the same regular season record. The Chiefs only got the 1 seed because I think I have them winning that head-to-head game. But obviously, Chiefs get a bye, so with the Ravens getting the 2 seed for me, I have them playing the Browns, and the Browns finally make it into the playoffs. And
what?
Yeah, hey, dude, your dad just said that the Dolphins were going to make the playoffs. Right?
Whoa. Wait, why you got to drag me into this?
But just like the Ravens versus Dolphins, I think the Browns are going to get stomped. I don't think it's even going to be close, which is going to be good for the whole, Lamar Jackson can't win a playoff game. He can't get it done. I think winning that one game for everybody on that team, the monkey off the back, and it'll get them ready and going for the next. But the next, I have the Bills at the 3, Titans at the 6, and I think that would actually be a really entertaining game. If you like defense, both teams have a pretty stout defense. It'd be a really good chess match kind of football game to watch. But I think the Bills just have more talent. I like their coach better, even though Vrabel's cool. I do like McDermott a lot. So I have the Bills coming out on top on that one. And then Colts Steelers are my 4 and 5. And I think the Colts are finally going to find a way to beat the Steelers when it matters most. And we're going to be able to move on to the next round to play the Chiefs. And when that matchup happens, Colts Chiefs, even though I think the Colts defense is kind of built with speed and it's built to just go, and it's built to stop the Chiefs, I think, better than any defense in the NFL, in my opinion. There's just so much. I mean, you could call it recency bias because of what we just saw Patrick Mahomes do in every playoff game last year, just being able to come back. It doesn't matter how much he gets down. There's always that big play capability. There's all that confidence and talent on that team. And I just don't know if anybody can stop them. So I have the Chiefs beating the Colts. And kind of for the same reason I have the Chiefs beating the Colts, I have the Ravens beating the Bills. I just don't think it's enough. There's so much going on in the Ravens offense. They're so explosive. Their defense is nasty. So I think the Ravens are going to win that game, which is going to lead to an amazing game against the Chiefs and the Ravens. And I think it's going to be a back and forth battle. I think the defenses are going to have great games. The offenses are going to have great games. It's going to be like the LA Rams and the Chiefs when that ended up 51-49, that great game we had a couple years ago. It'll be that kind of shootout kind of game, I think.
Not like the 51-24.
No, not quite like that one. Not quite like that one. But I have the Chiefs coming out on top of that to play the Saints in the Super Bowl.
Ooh. Okay.
Chiefs to the Super Bowl, huh?
That's right.
All right. Well, let me take it another step further here. So my bracket, I got Baltimore as your number one, KC as your number two. I think one of those teams toss up, Colts right behind. Um, but number two, Kansas City versus number 7, Tennessee. Kansas City taking that one. Moving on. My 3-6 is Buffalo versus Pittsburgh. There's something about the Steelers in the playoffs. You can never count them out.
Agreed.
I think they're going to upset Buffalo and take that one to move on. Then you have the number 4 seed Indianapolis versus the number 5 seed Miami Dolphins, which I think the Colts are going to handle that business.
Yeah,
Moving
Jeff,
on.
Jeff doesn't have anything to say about you having the Dolphins in there.
Well, I don't have them win the division. I just have them getting in as a wild card. A little bit of a difference there,
Fair
just
enough.
a little.
Fair enough.
All right, so moving on into the divisional round, I have number 1 Baltimore versus number 6 Pittsburgh. I think that's when Pittsburgh's luck runs out. Baltimore's just way too much. They're going to win that game in Baltimore. And the second game, Kansas City versus Indianapolis. Something about the Colts playing Kansas City in the playoffs.
There's always that team that has your number. And I almost mentioned that a minute ago, but I agree with you. There's always that one team that for some reason has your number. And it's been the Colts for the Chiefs.
And for that reason, I have the Colts moving on past the defending Super Bowl champions into the AFC Championship game.
Like a bold prediction.
There you go.
It's 2020. Anything can happen, right?
So I agree. I certainly think the Colts can do it. Not just for the one team that everyone has that one team, but as Jeff said, I mean their defense is just going to be top notch, and injuries can always come into play, and they always do to some degree. I like it. I like it.
You got to represent. Same reason why in the AFC Championship game, although I think Baltimore will probably get it done. It's 2020. I got the Colts beating Baltimore in the AFC Championship game. Moving on to the Super Bowl to play Tampa Bay so we could go watch both teams play and have a great weekend.
All right. I'm all about it. I just changed. I'm going to change all my brackets. We're not going to do another show to go back over it, but I'm going to change all my brackets to have Indianapolis playing Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl.
That's right. Let's get it done.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. So, all right. So we are planning on anything else you guys want to say?
Are we going to do the Super Bowl picks?
Oh, yeah. How can I forget that? I was so caught up in heading up to Tampa to watch the Colts play that I think this is harder than it sounds with Super Bowl predictions. I got a 25% chance. I guess it's the Saints, the Bucks, the Ravens, and the Chiefs, and I could give you a different answer depending on what day of the week you ask me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But in my brackets, I have the Saints winning the Super Bowl. I'd like to see Peyton and Breeze get another one.
Who'd you have Saints over who? Baltimore?
The Ravens.
I have the Saints, like I said earlier, playing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And while that would be an amazing game, truthfully, if they play, I think the Chiefs would probably win. But I think Breeze probably not going to get the regular season MVP, so I would like to see him retire with another Super Bowl MVP. So I picked the Saints to win as the 5 seed.
Hey, I'm all for it. I'd love to see New Orleans win the Super Bowl. Have Breeze get another one.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and of course on mine, I got Tampa Bay, Indianapolis. Got to go with your home team, Indianapolis, for the championship.
Yeah.
Taking it back.
No bias this year.
Back home.
It might be slightly biased, but I really think they're capable of getting it done. So, got to have a lot of luck go our way. We got to beat Kansas City and Baltimore, which are going to be 2 major hurdles. But who knows what'll happen? It'd be a fun season.
This is a type season. We talked about this before. This is a type season for Reich and the organization that this is where they're sitting on the brink of being able to emerge as a dominant contender over the next couple of years. This is the moment it happens. If it doesn't happen, it may not happen. and they've certainly put all the pieces in place, and I believe Frank Reich. So they very well could end up winning a Super Bowl this year. I think there's other teams that they're comparable with right now that we've talked about. The Dolphins being one of them, the Titans, maybe the Texans. I know we talk a lot in here, but I don't think those other teams have. I think they can have a good season, but I don't think they have that X factor that the Colts have, that we could see them push really hard and suddenly dominate these playoffs. And I think the Colts do have that.
Yeah, especially if they get hot at the end of the year like Tennessee did last year.
Right. Yeah.
I think there's something to be said about the depth of the Colts. A lot of teams have their starters, and then there's a lot of drop off in a lot of their backup guys. If somebody gets hurt, there's a noticeable hole. But for the Colts, you can look at almost every position we have on both sides of the ball. Outside of like offensive linemen, that's a pretty vital thing. One of them goes down, that's a big deal. But outside of that position group, if you look anywhere else, we have pretty good depth. There's not huge drop off. Everybody's pretty good at doing their job. It's a zone scheme. They don't do a whole lot of crazy stuff other than some blitzes here and there. So I think that the defense, like I said earlier, it's built for it. We have the depth for it. So if there are key injuries to the Colts, I think we're more built for lasting through that than other teams.
Well said. All right. Well, it's unanimous. We're all going to go with Zach's picks.
That's right.
Colts and
Yeah,
Bucks.
boy. Representing.
All right. What do we have on tap in the coming weeks, Zach?
Next week will be our fantasy football show.
Awesome.
Followed by that will be the day before the season begins, which we'll be running down our Pick'em, which we're going to be starting. We'll try to get everybody involved with that. Try to hold you, see what your game picks will compare to ours, and then what a breakdown of week 1 games.
Yep.
A little bit of fantasy in there too.
Okay. Very cool. So make sure you're looking for that. We appreciate you joining us. We'd really appreciate if you'd like, share, and subscribe. Tell all your friends, and show us some love. We'd love to hear from you if you want to send us a message. And until next time, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon.